Today we're going to be focusing on Fernanda Torres, a Brazilian actress who's been making a real splash internationally. And what makes this one even more interesting is that her stories, it's super intertwined with this incredible family legacy.
Oh yeah. What's so fascinating about Fernanda Torres is that her journey almost mirrors the path her mother took. You know, the acclaimed Fernanda Montenegro, who made huge waves decades ago. It's a powerful family history, for sure.
Right, talk about a legacy. And so for this deep dive, we're going to be checking out this great Vogue article. It's called Fernanda Torres' Roller Coaster Ride to the Oscars. And you'll totally understand why by the end of this. It does a great job of covering her career and all this buzz surrounding her Oscar-nominated role in I'm Still Here.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, Torres isn't just nominated, but she's following her mother's footsteps again. I mean, Montenegro was nominated for Best Actress 25 years ago for Central Station.
That's right. So by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only know who Fernanda Torres is, but you'll get why her story is so captivating right now. So let's get started.
Okay.
Fernanda Torres was practically born into the acting world, with both of her parents being big names in Brazilian theater and film.
Absolutely, and it's crucial to kind of think about the influence that kind of upbringing must have had on her. You know, growing up around that artistic energy, it probably really helped shape her natural talent, her passion for acting.
You know, she wasn't playing around either. Vogue even called her, get this, the Nicole Kidman of Brazil, which says a lot about the types of roles she's taken on over the years.
Oh, that's a great comparison. And you know, Kidman is known for tackling these diverse and challenging roles across so many genres, right? You got drama, comedy, action. So being compared to Kidman really highlights just how versatile Torres is as an actress.
And hold on to your hats because, are you ready for this one? She won Best Actress at Cannes at just 20 years old for Love Me Forever and Ever. That's practically unheard of, right? Especially at that age.
It's crazy, yeah. Yeah, that's incredibly rare. I mean, to achieve that level of international recognition so young, it really does speak to her exceptional talent, that's for sure.
So let's kind of shift gears here and talk about her Oscar-nominated role in I'm Still Here. This film is powerful. It's based on a true story that takes place during Brazil's military dictatorship in 1971. And Torres plays Eunice Paiva, a woman whose husband is suddenly taken by the army.
Yeah, and what's really striking about this film is how these themes of political oppression and resilience, they really mirror a lot of what we see in our own global political climate today. It's a story that has a way of resonating deeply with audiences, no matter where they're from.
Yeah, that's so true. And Torres wasn't just drawn to the role because of the power of the story. I mean, it resonated with her very personally because it reflected her own childhood and her mother's experiences during this really turbulent period in Brazil's history.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning that, as Vogue points out, you know, Torres, she wasn't actually the first choice for the role, and it was a bit older than the character too. But she clearly she resonated with the material, and in the end, she delivered an incredibly powerful performance.
And, you know, Eunice's story, it's not just about survival. Torres actually describes it as this journey of self-discovery in the midst of tragedy. So what exactly does that mean?
Well, at the start of the film, we see Eunice as a kind of traditional housewife. But when her husband is taken, it forces her to change. You know, she has to take charge and navigate a world that she never anticipated. She almost has to become someone she never thought she would be.
And Vogue mentions some really powerful details that really show this transformation.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most striking ones is how Eunice, she offers the police dinner when they come to take her husband away. Almost like she's trying to maintain some kind of control in a situation where she has absolutely none. Yeah, and then there's that scene in the ice cream parlor. It's heartbreaking when the reality of her situation hits her, and she just decides right now and there that she's going to protect her children from the truth.
It's such a powerful moment. You know, she's actively choosing to shield her children, even if it means carrying this huge burden all by herself.
And that decision says so much about who Eunice is as a character. She's not just a victim, but a woman who's making these incredibly difficult choices under just unimaginable circumstances. I mean, that's what elevates this film. It's more than a simple survival story, right?
Right, and Torres actually compares Eunice to some pretty heavy hitters. You know, figures from classic Greek tragedies like Hecuba and Penelope women who faced just unimaginable loss and hardship.
And those stories, they really highlight this inner strength and resilience that you need to endure such trials. It's not about outward displays of grief, but more of a quiet dignity when you're facing adversity.
It sounds like Torres really channeled that for this performance. But here's where things get really interesting. Fernanda Torres, she's not just an actress. She's also a writer. She's written books, screenplays. I mean, the woman has range.
It's true, that multifaceted talent is something else she shares with her mother, Fernanda Montenegro. Montenegro is also a very well-respected writer and director. It's clear that artistic legacy runs deep in this family.
It's like creativity is in their DNA. Speaking of which, Torres actually mentioned wanting to adapt a short story for the stage by this Portuguese author, José Maria de Essa de Queiroz. Do you happen to know anything about him?
Yeah. So Essa de Queiroz, he was a really prominent literary figure back in the late 19th century. He was known for his sharp social commentary and this really realist style of writing. And the specific story that Torres wants to adapt, it offers this almost Darwinian take on the biblical Genesis.
Oh, wow. That sounds super ambitious. It definitely seems to align with her tendency to explore these complex themes and push boundaries. But we can't talk about Fernanda Torres without talking about the Oscars.
Oh, of course, I'm still here. It's received several nominations, including Best Picture and Best Actress for Torres. I mean, that's a remarkable achievement in itself, but it also kind of mirrors her mother's journey, right? 25 years ago with Central Station.
It's amazing to see history repeating itself like this in such a positive way. but it hasn't all been smooth sailing. This Oscar season has been, well, a bit messy, to say the least.
Yeah, there have definitely been controversies and scandals, a lot of which have been amplified by, the constant churn of social media. And unfortunately, Torres hasn't been totally immune to this either.
You're right. Vogue even mentioned some accusations from a fellow nominee. And then there was that resurfaced comedy skit from years ago that caused a bit of backlash. But, we're not here to dissect those controversies today. Our focus is really on Torres's journey and what she said about navigating all of this craziness.
Yeah, it's important to remember that we're not taking sides in any of these, these disputes. Our goal here is to just give you a balanced perspective on the information that we have.
Exactly. And what really stood out to me was Torres's comments about the internet and its impact on artists, both positive and negative. It really is a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a really delicate balance, and the scrutiny can be so intense, especially for someone like Fernanda Torres, who's really been thrust into the global spotlight during this whole Oscar campaign.
Right. She even described it as a guerrilla fight to promote the film, which I can only imagine sounds exhausting, especially with limited resources.
I know, right? And winning the Golden Globe, I mean, that was obviously huge, but it feels like it's also just kind of amplified the pressure.
It seems like it, but you know what? She seems to be handling it all with such grace and honesty. And I think what's really striking is her whole perspective on finding yourself even when things are just chaotic.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not about the awards or the controversies. It's about her staying true to herself, true to her craft, even when everything around her just feels like it's spinning out of control.
Yeah, and it makes me think about something that her mother, Fernanda Montenegro, said years ago, that an artist's duty is to reflect the times, even the darkest ones. And I feel like Fernanda Torres she's doing exactly that with I'm Still Here.
Oh, she's definitely carrying the torch. And in a way, her story, it's like it becomes this reflection of our own times. When you think about those themes in the film, political oppression, resilience, fighting for the truth, these are all things that we're grappling with on a global scale right now.
You're right, and that's what makes this whole deep dive so relevant, right? We're not just learning about Fernanda Torres, but we're kind of exploring these bigger questions about ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. That's the power of art, isn't it? It forces us to look in the mirror and confront those uncomfortable truths and really grapple with those complex emotions.
Like an invitation to look inward. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Fernanda Torres' world, I have one final question for you. What does I'm Still Here make you reflect on? What does it mean to find yourself, to stand your ground, even when everything feels uncertain?
That's a really powerful question. And honestly, I think it challenges us to find our own voices, to tell our own stories, and to never stop fighting for what we believe in, just like Fernanda Torres is doing.
You said it perfectly. And, who knows? Maybe this deep dive will inspire some of you listening to explore even further. Go check out I'm Still Here, dive into some of Fernanda Torres' other work, or hey, maybe even pick up some of those Greek tragedies she mentioned.
There's a whole world of art and storytelling out there waiting to be discovered.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.